thank you for volunteering to become a lector at St. Andrew Parish. We've created this series of 8 short videos to help provide both some spiritual background and practical tips for proclaiming the Holy Scriptures during Mass. After you've reviewed all of the videos and completed the online worksheet, we'll schedule a practicum at church where you can become familiar with approaching the ambo, using the microphone, and handling the lectionary. Once that is complete, we'll include you in the next scheduling period. Now, don't worry. We'll cover all of this as we go through the series, and there will be plenty of opportunities to answer any questions that you may have. In this first video, let's talk about just what is read during Mass. Rather than reading a book of the Bible, we use something called a lectionary. For a typical Sunday Mass, that means that there are 3 readings plus a sung psalm. The first reading is usually from the Old Testament, chosen to bear a thematic relationship to the gospel of the day or to a theme relating to the season of the year. The psalm response is intended to be a response or reflection on this first reading. The second reading is taken from the New Testament letters, and they are typically in a semi-continuous form, meaning that we continue to hear from the same book for several weeks. The Gospels we hear are based on a 3-year cycle, so that over the course of the 3 years, we hear the vast majority of all 4 of the Gospels. Year A is devoted to Matthew's Gospel, Year B is for Mark, and Year C is for Luke. John fills in during certain seasons of the year. For example, the Gospel during the Easter season is always from the book of John. So why this complex schedule? And why don't we just pick up a Bible and read from it? There are a number of reasons, but one relates directly to the notion of liturgy. Liturgy accomplishes many things. It gathers us together in the presence of God. It forms us into a community, and it is filled with things both everyday, like bread and wine, and cosmic, as these common items are transformed into God's very presence. But always and everywhere, our liturgy is Christ-focused. The lectionary is carefully designed for that very reason, so that we can experience at every Mass the culmination of salvation history in the Paschal mystery of Jesus Christ. So we are definitely reading from the Bible, but in a consistent, structured way. This also has the effect that Catholics all around the world are hearing the same readings each week. But most practically, it means that the readings are easily accessed in a single ritual book divided up into weeks. This makes it easy to find the right readings for every Sunday. You might notice that we actually use 2 ritual books. The lectionary does contain all of the readings for the day, but we honor the special role of the gospel, the good news of Jesus, by using a second book called the Book of the Gospels. Since the deacon or priest reads the gospel, you typically won't use this second book. And I want to touch on a topic that we'll come back to later in this series, which is the difference between reading aloud and proclamation. Public speaking is done for many reasons: to persuade, to inform, or to entertain. We've all heard great speakers and admired their ability to command our interest with their verbal skills. But proclamation, especially of the sacred scriptures, is much more, because its central purpose is to celebrate and refresh the faith of the listeners. After all, for most of us, there is no new material in the actual words of the scriptures. But when those words are proclaimed aloud, they become active and alive in the hearts of those who hear them. When you proclaim the Word of God, it is as if the book itself disappears and God uses your voice, your skill, your preparation to announce something new, something that applies to the world today. As Christians, we are all, by definition, proclaimers of the good news. Because we have all been baptized into Christ's mission, we all announce to the world by our very lives that there is a compassionate God who is alive and working throughout the world. But as a lector, you have a special role, because to hear the scriptures proclaimed is to hear the voice of God speaking right here, right now, to the people gathered. This may seem like a daunting responsibility, because you don't just pronounce words, you carry a divine message that is heard and acted upon in people's hearts. In our next video, we'll take a look at the depth of preparation that is required for this new role.